God, we come to you reminded that you are good, reminded that we find our joy in you, reminded that you love us so much. And so may we come to your words this evening with an open heart so that we can understand what it means for us to be people who are pure in heart, people who see and know you and experience your goodness in every single day of our lives. So may you speak through me, may you speak to all of us, and may we hear your voice. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. So tonight, of course, we are back with our Beatitudes sermon series. Of course, we have a cute way of doing it. Where's Chris? We always do that. Beatitudes, right? Ooh. Is everyone excited yet? Yeah, Beatitudes. So we are on Matthew 5:8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Right? I was like, that's good enough. I can just be done, right? Just be pure in heart. But I think we need to unpack what that means a little bit. I think, unfortunately, in our puritanical and our weirdly purity-driven Christian culture, we've sort of got some misunderstandings of not only this passage, but of a lot of the Beatitudes. I think we take them too far in some ways and then not far enough in other ways. The word beatitude simply means blessedness in Latin. It's a state of being. And as Reverend Neil preached a few weeks ago, you can actually exchange blessedness for happy, right? So blessed are those can also be happy are those, right? It's a state of being. Also, to remind you that this is in the Sermon on the Mount, which is probably a compilation of some of Jesus' sermons, but it is intended in this book of Matthew to give us a framework for the kinds of people that Jesus wants us to be. So Jesus is basically saying in the Beatitudes, these are my people. My people behave in this way. These are the qualities of my followers. And so we've gone over a few of them already: hungering and thirsting for righteousness, humility, the fun one, and merciful. And so tonight we, of course, engage with the pure in heart passage. And I know for some of us, the word pure has strange connotations in the Christian world, right? It usually means sexual sin. How many, raise your hand if you think, when someone says purity, you think it means sort of sexual sin, right? Something that we need to eradicate from us. Good, not very many hands. That's a good thing. Or you're just too tired. You're like, can't raise my hand. That's fine. Stay where you are. That's not what's going on here, right? Because we are supposed to be pure of what? Heart. And the heart is a metaphor for what? Emotions, feelings, our inner life, okay? And so I think this is talking about how we conduct ourselves when people don't know what's happening to us. It's how we conduct ourselves in our interior world, right? So it's not outward holiness, but an inward disposition that we're thinking about tonight. It's not holiness, but wholeness, I think, is what is being captured here. And it made me think a little bit about what it means to have an exterior life that's different than your interior life. And I think sometimes in the 21st century, we think we have perfected the art of faking it, right? So we have Instagram, we have social media, we have filters, right? The last time, so when I got my license done, right? My other driver's license in California, I'd had it for years and years and years. They just keep like giving it to you. So the 28-year-old picture was still on it. And then when I came here in Dallas, I had to like take a new picture and everything. And so I was like, oh, I'm not 28 anymore. And I was like, do you have any filters on that thing? And they were not amused at the DMV. They were not amused. No filters. But we sort of think there's this idea that we have perfected being fake, right? Fake news, fake lives. In fact, I wanted to point out to you, one of my very good friends, my BFF is here, Alicia. Raise your hand. She's visiting. And I mention her at this point because she was bored on the way to the airport or at the airport waiting for the plane. So she was taking pictures of herself. I didn't ask her if I can share this, but she doesn't care. It's fine. We'll have drinks later. It'll be fine. And so she was sending us pictures with these fake eyelashes. So there's like a filter that gives you big fake eyelashes. Who knew about this? Isn't that easier than gluing it on? I don't know. But then she asked if I knew anyone that could help her with the real ones, and I said, I know a few drag queens. So if you're out there, Alicia. But think about it when you think about who Jesus interacted with. The leaders of his day faked outward piety, right? So we think we've perfected it, but man, there were rules upon rules upon rules in the first century with Jesus. Walk this far, look like this, put this on your forehead. All the rules with which to make you look like you had a beautiful religious life. And the thing that Jesus gets most angry about, aside from people who are in leadership who keep other people from God, that's the thing he gets most mad about. The second thing in the Bible he gets the most mad about in the stories we're told is people who are fakers. People who say they believe in God, say they love God, say they follow God into righteousness, and yet it is not inside them. They are ugly inside. So Jesus does not like fakers. Think about it. He takes things further even than the Bible does. He says things like, you have heard it said, right? Do not murder. That's the rule, right? Is that a good rule? That's a good rule, right? Do not murder, outward thing. What does he do to it? He says, but beyond that, when you harbor anger in your heart, that is also a sin. So he takes it from beyond the outward exterior moment to the interior life of the person. And he takes it further and says, what matters is what's on the inside as much as what's on the outside. So in other words, I think tonight, purity of heart means we are supposed to grow up. Should I have to do this? I apologize. There's no way to make that adorable, except I did a honky noise with it, didn't I? Should I do that again? Okay, there we go. I may do that again. When we're young, thank you, I appreciate that. When you're young, how do we learn when we're young? You have kids, right? They mimic, right? Kids learn all from the exterior, right? Because they do things because a parent tells them to. They do things because a kid hit them. They do things because they're watching what you do, which is why parents have to be very careful about what they say and do. Can I get an amen, right? Because kids are watching all of that. So when you're little, you understand your internal life completely externally. It is all on what people are saying to you and doing to you. And so I think what we're talking about here is moving beyond that, right? Moving beyond that. One of my favorite movies is the movie Inside Out, the cartoon movie. And for me to say that, and Alicia knows this well, for me to say a cartoon movie is one of my favorite movies, it's saying a lot because I do not like cartoon movies. It is Inside Out and Megamind, and that's about it, right? Anyone see Megamind? No? Yes, okay. Well, go see it. I'm done. Go take time to do that. Just kidding. So, in the movie Inside Out, we meet this character, Riley, who is a little girl. And she's, as little girls do, she struggles with her emotions, and she's figuring things out as she's a little kid. And the beautiful, if you haven't seen Inside Out, I am not going to do it justice in any way, so just know that. Secondly, you should see it. It really is this beautiful story about how people grow up. It's just beautiful and wonderful. And I know that they researched all about psychology and all that stuff with it. So anyway, we encounter Riley, this little girl, who has joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger, all personified in what they call her mind headquarters. So it's basically this part of her that exists that sort of defines the things that she does and the actions. And of course, as a little kid, happy's the one that's there, right? Happy, I want to be happy. And then we get a sense of that. And then later she grows up a little bit, and they move away, and we meet her as an older kid, and she's struggling a bit. They've moved, she's not happy. She doesn't know how to navigate the world with not just happy, right? And so she struggles. And so there's this whole struggle that goes on internally, which is the whole entire movie. And again, I said I was not going to do it justice. And as she grows up, everything inside starts to crumble. And it's this scary moment where she has to let go of all of her childhood coping mechanisms. And it's scary. Everything starts to crumble. But I'm going to give away the ending because it's been out for a while, right? No spoiler alert. Everything gets built back up in even more of a beautiful way. Because that's what growing up is, right? That's what living a good internal life is, knowing that we need to work stuff out so that we can move forward and grow. And so I think being pure in heart is having a focus, having an innocent, childlike, not childish imagination, but being fully adult in how we react and respond and deal with things in life. So it isn't about the outward things, it's about the inward things, being pure in heart. Because I think Jesus is saying that it's easy to decide externally what looks holy, right? It's easy, and you see how Christians and people of other different faiths do it all the time, right? Don't murder. Again, we think that's a good one, right? I think don't murder is a good rule, right? Eat this, don't eat that. Sleep with that person, don't sleep with that person. Wear this, wear that, don't do that, right? Isn't so much of faith life can be, if we're not careful, these external cues about what we think holiness is? Is anyone with me on that? It can be that external sense of it. But I would say having compassion is far more important than simply just not murdering someone, right? Not murdering someone is sort of the bare minimum, right? Like, it's kind of a rule, but it leaves a lot of gray area with how you can treat people. Like, I beat that guy up, but I did not murder him, right? And so I think so often we deal with what people perceive us doing. We do things for the external, but growing up means we need to deal with some of this. And so purity of heart, I believe, is the intention to just focus on the big stuff that we often think is the little stuff. And it begins with us. What does it mean to love ourselves? What does it mean to heal our pain? What does it mean to acknowledge our anger? What does it mean to embrace our sadness, right? And not get distracted by the outward stuff we can't control and shouldn't control, and the outward stuff that should not control us. Our internal lives. Purity is about focus and intention. Purity is about motives and control, the control that we have over our own hearts. And when you work on that stuff, the heart stuff, your emotional health, your spiritual health, your beautiful grounding in who you are, what happens? What are we promised? When you're pure in heart, what happens? You will see God. And that is not a one-time thing. I think sometimes people think if you're pure in heart, you will see God in heaven, right? Whatever. How many people thought that meant heaven? Like, one day we'll see God somewhere else and he'll be in a robe or whatever. No. It means you continually will see and experience God in the world around you. When you are pure of heart, when you have your emotional stuff in check, when you have, I like to call it when you've Brene Browned your life, right? Amen? And you're like, Brene Brown, you will see God in everyone and in everything, because no one is the enemy, no one is controlling you, you're not controlling anyone. You will get to see the beauty of God's revealed creation in every encounter you have. And isn't that sort of our goal, right? It doesn't mean we don't have negative emotions. It means that we've dealt with our stuff, so when negative emotions come, it doesn't throw us for a loop. We can move forward with intention and purpose and purity and still see God in the midst of whatever difficulty it is. Purity of intention, purity of focus, purity in our journeys. Where our heart is affects how we see God in the world, which is why I don't always like the Message. It's one of the translations of the Bible, but I love how the Message translates this passage. And this is what the Message says. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. Isn't that beautiful? When you get your mind, your heart, your inside world right, then you can see God in the outside world. You can see God in the good. You can see God in the image bearers, all of whom are you, the image bearers of the God who loves and created you. Pure people don't miss the point, right? The point is that we are to love each other. Y'all, there are Catholic priests right now in Poland. Did anyone read this article? They are burning Harry Potter books. They're burning Harry Potter books because that is what is wrong with the Catholic Church. It's Hermione's feminism. That's what's wrong. That Ron Weasley's got red hair. I don't know about that. Isn't that funny? Because that's what's wrong with the Catholic Church. And yet, in Poland, nearly 400 priests have been caught in sexual impropriety and molestation. And yet they're burning Harry Potter books. And I'm not calling out the Catholic Church because it's easy, right? Although it is kind of at this point. But because they're missing the point, aren't they? They're missing the point, right? They get this fake idea of purity of reading, right? Or purity of thought in some way. And they miss the actual purity they're supposed to have in their hearts. Purity of heart, of our motives, of loving others, not for our own gain or what we can get, but because they bear the image of God. Again, have you ever met perpetually angry people? How many have met perpetually angry people? And sometimes those people, unfortunately, are Christians too, huh? Like they're angry all the time, perpetually finding others in the wrong, always with the doom and gloom, hellfire and brimstone, right? And I get it now after reading this passage because they can read the Bible, they can quote the Bible, they can preach the Bible, they can sing the Bible, but they can't see God. They can't see God. Because you need to be pure in heart to see God. You got to work on your stuff inside. They can't see God in everyone and everything. Because there are some people out there that I wonder, and I've said this sometimes when I've seen people, and I think, what Bible are they reading? Who's ever said that? Like, someone will quote a Bible passage and they'll be like, what Bible are you reading, right? What God are you following? But I actually think that's the wrong question. I think they have the right Bible, but I think they have the wrong heart. I think they have the wrong heart. And so my siblings tonight, my challenge to you, and I can't make it individualistic because each of you are on your own journeys and I don't know where that is. But my hope is where it's going is that you are going to continue working on your interior life. You're going to heal the pains, the things that hurt you. You're going to move forward, finding joy in the little things. You're going to experience sadness, but know that God will get you through it. You may experience anger, but you're going to hold off on it blowing up because you know that God has got it. And so my friends, my church, my prayer for you is that you do that beautiful good work in your heart so that it can be pure. It can be pure so that you can see what I see, which is God in each and every one of you. Be pure in heart, and you will see God. Amen.